students to prove themselves at the correct place in the globalized world. This interview is very important for us because our students are trained with science-based skills. They join laboratory studies and they produce national or international projects. Maybe one day they will become scientists. Our students have examined your projects and they have prepared some questions about you and your project. I would like to thank you for giving us this change, the name of our school, my students, and for myself. I'll be grateful if you let my students ask you some questions.
I'm Deniz. I'm a 10th grader at Kültür Koleji. And I would like to ask you, when and how did you decide to become a scientist, and what motivated you in this process?
Well, that's a good question and an important one, since I think you should be aware life will offer you all sorts of opportunities. I did not intend to come here, or in fact, be a scientist. I initially intended to become a chemist at school, and I didn't. I studied medicine, and I can remember the basis of that decision. The headmaster came into the classroom and he said, Peter, come over here, this formidable person in a gown. Yes, sir. He said, Peter, I think you should study medicine. And I said, yes, sir, because he was that sort of teacher you agree with. And went and studied medicine. And I don't know whether he thought I would be a bad chemist or a good doctor. But it was a change. I mean, I didn't. One important thing in life: make your decisions. Make decisions, and then you will be able to optimize the consequences. Make a bad one, minimize the loss. Make a good one, maximize the benefit. So that was me into medicine. I became a kidney specialist, and I finished my training as a doctor, and the time came to get a lifetime position as a practicing physician. I didn't get the first job. Had I got it, I would have accepted it, and I would have never done this. So but I didn't get it. And then the second one, I didn't really like the place I was going to work in as much as I might, so I withdrew my application. And I'd always been interested in aspects of kidney physiology, and I set up the lab, a different type of career, and I enjoyed it. So decisions were made pretty rapidly on not very much evidence, and I'm reasonably sure that's the way it'll be for you. Of course, now I can say, well, I was a magnificent thinker, and I saw this opportunity, and I wanted to cure disease, and I was driven because I'd seen disease, and I set about putting it all right. It's easy for me to say that in retrospect. I don't believe people who tell you that. Through your lives, you'll get all sorts of ups and downs. Not everything is going to go right, believe me. But it will present you, I suspect, with some opportunities. And when they come, just take them and find out where you will end up. I actually don't have a PhD, for the record. I do not have one.
Hello, my name is Varan. I'm a 10th grader. And my question is, when you were at our ages, in your high school years,
yes,
what was your perspective about science?
So what?
Your perspective about science.
At grade 10. Well, I actually think this is a time that will change you as human beings. I'm a little bit surprised that more money is not spent on education, and too much on health, too much. Why should a doctor and a lawyer get paid more than a teacher? Well, I can understand why I would pay a doctor and a lawyer more than a teacher. Yeah? I'm an old man. I need doctors and I need lawyers. And I've had my education. I cannot see why society would do that. So secondary, your time in secondary school will convert you from being a child to an adult. It's going to happen between the ages of 11 and 18. If you're not an adult at 8, you're not a full adult at 18, but things are going to change for you. And the teaching there, I think, is absolutely critical. Britain has done quite well in the Nobel Prizes, you probably know that, and I attribute that to not everyone can have it, but there was a reasonable secondary education. I didn't go to a private school, it was a state school, but it was a pretty good state school. And some of those teachers taught me to think for simple answers to complex questions. You know what I mean? That you're given a huge, big calculation, and instead of needing your calculator to feel the answer, well, if it was 3.2715 recurring, probably wrong. But if everything cancelled out of that equation and the answer was 2, then you knew you solved the problem. And I think it wasn't just the maths and science teachers that alerted me to that, but that's what you're looking for. If you're going to be a biologist, now if it's theoretical physics or something, you have to be very clever. But I'm not. And my resolving power in the conventional sense would be, it'll not be more than yours, not be more than, reasonable average at your school. And you don't need it for biology, but you do need to be able to think simply, to see things that appear complex and see, our system is very simple. And I think that's what I would be looking for at your stage in your grade 10. It's a very critical phase. You're somewhere between, I know you're not a child, but you're not a complete adult yet either, so there's everything to play for.
Hello, my name is Umut. I'm 7th grader in Kültür Koleji. On those days, would you imagine to get Nobel Science Prize, which is the most prestigious science?
What is the most prestigious science prize? This one is, and I didn't really know. It's a good question because I don't know why. This is the only one anyone's ever heard of. I have had a lot of other prizes, and they are essentially the same field. It's the scientists across the world are looked at, and some of them are given this award or that award. But this one, I think 50 times as much attention, 2,000 thank you letters to write, 200 speaking invitations. Jane may answer this question. Somehow the Nobel Prize captures the public imagination, and it's sort of reinforcing once it's achieved that. Then, but it's the only one anyone knows about. The scientists know about other prizes, but my old school friends contact me. So we saw you on the news. Quite funny. But I don't know why. It's a sort of historical thing.
Hi, my name is Can Cezay. As we know, Nobel Science Prizes are given to scientists at 9:15 a.m. How did you feel during this period? Did you wait your phone to ring? What did you feel when it rang? Could you please share your experience with us?
Well, you're not supposed to know about these things, and we didn't, but at any one time there'll be about 15 projects that are capable of winning the Nobel Prize. So we knew we were in those 15. Of course, I didn't know that ours would win, nor did I know that if oxygen won, I would be one of the three. So there's a large element of uncertainty. Try to block that out of your mind. It's not very helpful. No one needs a Nobel Prize. So worrying about one is a very bad thing to do. So I just block it out. Actually, my secretary, Catherine, knew that this special morning they awarded. So she sat at the telephone. I had forgotten that it was that morning. And she came into the laboratory meeting and said that there's a man from Stockholm on the phone, and of course she knew where Stockholm was. I went down and, well, I called people who've got something important to say. He said it very slowly. He didn't come to the point very quickly. He said, "This is Thomas Perlman. I'm talking to you from Stockholm, in Sweden, from the Nobel Assembly, which awards the Nobel Prize." And I'm listening to this conversation, and of course the other possibilities, it's one of your friends or not so much friends who's mimicking Thomas Perlman. So I'm listening very carefully to the accent, make sure it doesn't break down into an English accent or something. Finally he said, we'd like to say you've been awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine or Physiology. And then he said, that means you've won the Nobel Prize, just for certainty. I was still not completely sure that this was true, but very shortly after that, of course, it's on the media, and hundreds of emails came in, so there was collateral evidence it was really true. So that's what happened.
Hi, my name is Parsa. It's a pleasure to have an interview with you. My question is, when you first started your career, in which field did you work on?
Which career? Medicine or science?
No, medicine.
I started kidney medicine, so I did the sort of general training. I've actually done a lot of medicine, 30 odd years, so I wasn't a physician who went into science and stayed in science. I did both for a long time, training in medicine and then training in science and practicing in both simultaneously. But it was kidney medicine. Yeah. And I had a few ideas about different types of kidney problem. You may know that people have crushed muscles get kidney failure, so I wanted to know how that might work. That work didn't work out. People who have shock, hemorrhage, low blood pressure, the kidney problems, and I wanted to work that out. That didn't work. After a series of things, I came by this problem. But I think I can't repeat more. It's going to be your own question that is important, and I fear I have an absolute hatred of authority. So every time someone would say, this is the thing to research, I would take the other view, do something else. And there is that streak in people that leads them to discover things and not go into everyone else's. I absolutely can't abide by convention. And we find that that's true of many scientists. It means they're extraordinarily difficult and awkward, unpleasant people to manage. I ran the Department of Medicine at Oxford for many years, and frankly, some of the professors behaved like pigs. But they were really, really rude to the university, the department, and my secretary said, well, you should get more polite staff at the university. But the truth is that almost the worse the behaviour, the more productive they were scientifically. I try not to behave like a pig, but there is going to be that anti-convention in you that leads you to do something different or see something differently from the way other people have seen it. It has to be that way if you think about it. It has to be that way, that you'll do something different, and therefore you are going to be an unusual person. You are not going to follow convention. I out, if you will, your career path will get all over the place. And then maybe it will fall your way.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Willow, and it's an honor to be here and meet you. When did you decide to become an expert on kidneys? How long have you been working on kidneys?
On kidneys, well, the answer chronologically is in 1979. That's when I decided to do kidneys. It was my first job as a doctor. People can flatter you into anything, you know, when you're young. You can persuade young people to do anything by saying they're good at it. You can persuade almost anyone to do anything by saying they're good at it. So the guy said, Peter, you're really, really, really good. You should do kidney medicine. And again I said, yes, off I go to kidney medicine. I mean, it's an interesting subject, but so many others. That's how I went into kidney medicine. But it's an expensive form of medicine, so there weren't too many jobs in the National Health Service. And that was quite important in sort of guiding me to the research side. I began to make case reports of patients that I'd seen where you could observe and obviously draw a conclusion about something. That was actually very, very good training because it teaches you to look at what you can see and draw a conclusion from what you can see. In the lab we do other things, we do more and more experiments. We go on and on forever. But an important part of your skill is what you can conclude that other people haven't seen, that's imaginative, from what you do see. You just look around Stockholm, what can you conclude from what you observe? And that's how I got into it.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Isa. What's the main factor that led you to do this project?
This particular project, the oxygen sensing project, well, it is that connection to the kidney. That was what I was doing for those rather random reasons. I chose to do kidney medicine, and it's a kidney that makes this hormone EPO that regulates your blood cell production. And I was fascinated by the sensitivity with which the kidney can detect just a small change in your altitude, your low oxygen altitude, or if I take a unit, if I take a unit of blood for donation off you, you will make precisely that amount of blood back again. Amazing precision. And what's being done there, sensing oxygen, switching on EPO. So I was fascinated by what it could be that would do that. And I had all sorts of ideas about the kidney circulation. None of them were right. And we still don't know the answer to that. But ultimately it led to the idea that there must be a molecular mechanism that is involved. But even though we know the molecular mechanism, we still don't absolutely know how that mechanism is used to create the precision that you have. If I take all of your blood, you'll be a bit different. The men will have a higher level than the women, a gram higher. So you're like 14.8, 13.8, 14.4, 14.2, 13, 13.3, 14. And you will each of you track that level. It's an amazing thing, and it's nice to find out the solution to amazing things, and that was really what drawn me.
We have searched on your studies, and we know that you have been working on how cells perceive oxygen. Could you please enlighten us about the content of your studies?
The consequence?
The content. You have been studying on how cells perceive oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you please enlighten us about the content of your studies?
About how they sense oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, everything was a surprise. The first surprise was that we thought this mechanism would just occur in the kidney. And then because that's what makes the EPO, makes blood. And then we found it worked in all the cells. That was the first surprise. And then all sorts of ideas were put forward as to what mechanism it was. But what it is an oxygen splitting enzyme, the dioxygen, O2, that splits the double bond puts one oxygen atom into a proline ring in chemistry, creates an alcohol group, hydrogen bonds, and that hydrogen bond can make it associate with another protein, VHL, and that destroys it. So that's the atomic level. So all of that was not predicted. This was entirely unprecedented type of signaling through prolyl hydroxylation, addition of an oxygen atom to carbon number 4 in the prolyl ring. That's all I can say, that's what it is. It was Patrick Angos who gave the kindly nice after dinner straight. He said, well, it's kind of obvious, isn't it, that it wouldn't be like that. And that's been said, that was said about the Economics Prize in the TV show this morning. Of course, it's very easy to see obvious things in retrospect. But yeah, it's a rather simple mechanism. The splitting of dioxygen by an enzyme, the marking of a protein with a single oxygen atom, the destruction of that protein that switches the thing off. Now, why you make HIF, hypoxia-inducible factor, wherever it is there, and then you mark it if there's oxygen around, and that destroys it. If there isn't oxygen around, you don't destroy it, builds up and makes the cells adapt. Why the cells are cycling like that, you'll come to this. Many biological systems cycle. They're going round and round and round, and then something regulates the rate of cycling, and that's the signal. It's not a very efficient way, I don't think, of doing it, but that's the way. That's Darwinian biology for you. You know, you're not logical. You're not a logical way of being a human being. You're created by Darwinian evolution, not intelligent design. So you're a crazy thing. Think about it. You want to run quickly. Cheetah wants to run at 80 miles, 100 kilometers an hour. We all know the easiest way to do that is wheels, far better than legs. But you're constrained by Darwinian evolution to use legs. You can evolve one leg into a faster leg. You can't evolve a leg into a wheel, even though an engineer can tell you that a wheel is more efficient than a leg. You're stuck with legs. And possibly in the HIF system, you're stuck with things that go round and round and round like that, and that's what you've got to use to signal biology. So it's a very, that's why it actually doesn't help to be massively clever to do this. It isn't, first of all, it isn't necessary, and it may not be a help. It does help to be a little bit different. It does help to have an imagination, but huge, conceptual thinking of the type of theoretical physicists do, it is not relevant to the solution of biological problems. If we just said O2 split, marking oxygen atom, easy peasy.
Thank you.